Well, on this show, we have sung the praises of Gwyneth Paltrow and how shamelessly out of touch she is because she just knows who she is. She's an elite Hollywood celebrity, and she's not going to sit there and deny it or apologize for it. Now, recently, her daughter, Apple Martin, that she has with Chris Martin of Coldplay, just was debuted at this super elite debutante ball in Paris for all of these rich people. And it was about...
believe these types of things are real.
It's totally real. It still happens. You know, there are still a lot of events like this. It's just not publicized.
I never got
usually
invited to anything like this.
And
guess I'm not a debutante.
They invited 20 young women to get presented at this Les Bals des Débutantes. And it was at this luxury hotel, and all of these girls wore expensive gowns and took photos and danced and all of that. But it seems that Apple Martin takes after her mother in terms of her behavior and her attitude toward the poors, because...
Wait, so is this other lady poor, or is she also a rich debutante?
I don't know the demographic for the other girls, or if she even knew them, but she was accused of having a mean girl moment at the debutante ball.
This video here?
Maybe a Regina George moment where...
I'm getting Pretty Little Liars vibes already.
Yeah, it's giving Regina George. Basically, they lined up all of these young girls for photos. They're each taking individual photos. And she just walks into the frame of this other girl's photo and steals the spotlight completely and basically pushes her out of the way.
Here we go.
As you can see in this video without... We're not going to play the sound because it has copyright music, but you can see very clearly what she was doing. Literally popping her hips.
Look, if you look at this
hands on hips.
I'm sorry to do this, but this looks so fake. Like no actual person acts like this.
But she did. She is an actual person, and she actually acted like that.
If you're listening to this right now on Spotify, where you should rate and review for us right now.
Thank you. In advance.
She literally puts her hands on her hips and pushes her shoulders up and her chest out and her head back, and then pushes this girl out of the way, who's giving the only thing I could say is an incredulous face.
Yes, the girl is smiling and she can't believe this is happening right now, but she just kind of gave up on getting her own photos taken and walks away.
Even the poor photographer tried to pull her back. Was like, hey, come back. It's still your turn.
Yeah.
And Apple's like, no, it's not. It's my turn.
I mean, her name is Apple. Of course she has an individuality complex. I wouldn't be surprised by that at all.
Yep.
She is a Nepo model, etc. You know, this is a girl who, for better or for worse, has had everything handed to her in life on a silver platter, and she's proud of it. And Gwyneth Paltrow has, in fact, proudly raised her to be that way. So I found this old interview where Gwyneth Paltrow talks about the way she raised Apple. She says... Gwyneth Paltrow has previously praised her daughter's sense of entitlement, saying that it helps her break down gender inequalities. She said, "They have, I mean this word in the best possible way, a sense of entitlement, and that's beautiful." She's talking about her daughter and her female friends. She said, "It's not spoiled. They're here for what the boys are going to get too. I find it very uplifting and heartening that we all seem to be going in this direction together."
Once again, what the elites in society do very, very well is they get you and I, the poors, to fight over things like race and gender, when really we understand that it's a class divide, and she is not entitled. What she's doing is not good, and it's certainly not gendered. The idea that the boys of her class would be treated any different is ridiculous, because the boys of her class are just as entitled as she is.
I'm looking at some of the comments. That looked obnoxious, but she was probably joking. Doesn't really matter if you're joking, because the consequence of what you did remains the same.
Yes.
And the girl was laughing because she was uncomfortable, not because she found it funny. Dreadful show off. That was so rude of her. It's giving Regina George. Another one tried to make an excuse for her, saying, "Oh, they're obviously friends, and the girl in black was stepping out of the frame anyways." Not,
Yeah.
I mean, I just don't buy that for a second. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
No. Let the other girl have her moment. This isn't good behavior for such an event.
I will say that I appreciate that no matter how much Hollywood tries to subtly program you otherwise, the human condition remains the same. Men act as men act and women act as women act. And certainly they may change the way Mean Girls is portrayed in a movie, but in human nature, things don't change that quickly.
She reminds me of one of Cinderella's stepsisters,
There you
once
go.
said. Yeah, no matter how much you can cloak her sense of entitlement in feminism, it actually seems like she's only out for herself, not for women as a whole.
Well, they again,
She's like, oh, feminism is when we support me.
it's very easy to excuse bad behavior if you try to cloak it in something virtuous, which is a big part of what Hollywood does.
Yeah, well, she is still young. So she'll
Oh yeah, you have to offer
have
her
some
grace.
time to mature and not act like this.
You have to offer.
It's just
her
that
some-
everyone's watching.
You have to offer her some grace because she's young and she doesn't know any better. You can,
yeah.
however, hold her mom responsible for not attempting to teach her anything better or more prevalent to good values. But again,
It's Gwyneth Paltrow.
We also make the half joke most of the time. Like, look, I can appreciate somebody who doesn't live in my socioeconomic status pretending to be one of the guys. Okay.
Right.
I did a video earlier about how Barack Obama kind of used George Clooney as a patsy for his political movement this year to get Biden out of there. And what it tied into was like the campaign that they ran and then Clooney voicing this ad that's like, hello there, fellow men. And it's like they put the guys in Carhartt jackets and flannels. They're like, they're rich people who don't understand how normal people live. When that's all you see all the time, I can appreciate once in a while someone who's just like, look, I'm rich. I don't know what it's like to be you. And that's fine.
You'd rather have some unabashed elitism.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, maybe I draw the line at like as teaching that as a virtue to your children.
Right.
But at the same time, her children
more
don't
honest.
live in my world and I'm not going to live in their world. And I guess that's fine. She's not stepping into the frame of my photos. So what do I care? She's stepping into the frame of the photos of those at a debutante ball.
What she's stepping into is she's stepping into her confidence, Brett.
Oh,
That's what she's doing.
don't do that. Don't use
We
that
wish her the
phrase.
best of luck with that.
Don't use that phrase. That is the worst phrase in the world. But here's the thing. These are exactly the type of people who use that type of phrase in a sentence when they're launching a makeup line. They're like,
I'm sure Apple will.
and she'll be like, look, for years I tried to use Goop and it just didn't work to brighten my skin till one day I used my mom's money to step into my confidence and start my own makeup brand called Apple Jacks.
I'm here for it.
And after she does that, then she can do so. Also, when you name your kid Apple, you're setting her up for that type of.
Oh, exactly.
I hope
yeah.
her middle name is Macintosh.
That was one of the first. I think that Apple Martin was one of the first weirdo celebrity names. You know?
Yeah.
Like before Northwest
Yeah.
and all of these other examples, she was one of the first examples that people still bring up to this day. And she's 20 years old now. And it's only gotten worse since then. But when you name your daughter Apple, she's going to grow up with an individuality complex or some kind of complex, and it's going to show.
Yeah.
So maybe she'll grow out of it. Maybe she won't.
She's 20. I think somebody in the
She
chat
is 20,
said. So
yes.
she's 20 years old. You know.
Yes, too old to be acting like a high schooler, but you're not actually that far off.
No, you still act. Your prefrontal cortex is still size of a
Yeah,
raisin.
still need more time. More time to marinate.
And again, we're kind of critiquing something that's not our world, anyways. It's not something that we really understand. For all I know, this is what they want to do. She's like, maybe the other lady's
Maybe
like,
it was all staged.
I wouldn't put it past them. Look, anytime the cameras are involved, I don't put it past any of them to stage anything. We're looking at those photos of Jennifer Garner yesterday, like literally offering her shoes to a homeless person, and I'm like, look, the cameraman who's shooting her is like head on to her left. She's like looking at the homeless person,
Yeah.
but let's face it, over the top of her eyelids. She's looking to the left and she sees some guy shooting a photo, and she's like, at first she's probably just handing him like these, she would make these care packages of like toothpaste and stuff that she would give out to homeless people. But now she sees like a cameraman actually shooting the moment. She's like, I got to go all out. Do you want the shoes off my feet, sir? I'm sure they will fit you, a grown man.
Addison Rae just got her photos taken by paparazzi at a car wash where she was wearing a very unique outfit, a candy striper gown with open sides, side boobs fully out with boob tape on the nips. And she's just like, oh yeah, I'm just like at the car wash right now.
I just happen to be here.
Wearing a candy striper dress. And I totally didn't call TMZ before I showed up. I mean, really? We're supposed to believe this?
In the chat, BC says, Brett is the type to own a Microsoft Zune. Do you know what Zune was?
No.
It was like an iPod.
What is that?
So my brother did own a Zune for years and years and years until it broke. It was like an iPod it wasn't an iPod. It was made by it was made by Microsoft. Was it Microsoft? I don't remember. My brother had a Zune. I had a regular iPod Photo at that time. I like an iPod all the way back to when it had the 4 little buttons up top and the spinning wheel.
I didn't even have one.
Yeah. So, I
went straight from iPod Shuffle to iPod Touch.
So, one day you're going to have to like send the paparazzi, like TMZ a note, like, I'm going to be at Taco Bell at this time.
Right.
And walk through the drive-thru to pick up your
food. Yeah.
You can do that.
Perfect.
Thanks for watching. Listen to full episodes of Pop Culture Crisis on Spotify.
Keep up with us on social media and make sure you subscribe and ring that bell so you never miss the show. Bye, guys.